Let the flames begin!
Alrighty, what's going on everybody? My name is Blitzer and welcome back to another Skylanders Giants individual Skylander review. Sorry for that awkward little pause there, but here we go. Let's kick this thing off, and this time actually we're going to be taking a look at a Skylanders Spyro's Adventure figurine in Flameslinger, and the reason for that is, if you don't know, of course, I wanted to purchase one of the Spyro Adventures figures and try it out in Giants, so that's really kind of the purpose of what this video is, but we're going to be taking a look at Flameslinger, and from what I understand and having done some research and actually seen the figurine in person, it is the Skylanders Giants version of this guy is not much different. In fact, from what I understand, there might be just slight paint application differences, but other than that, the figurine is pretty much identical to this iteration of Flameslinger. That being said, of course, we will first take a look at the toy component of Skylanders, because that is what we do here on the Blitzwinger channel, Skylander Reviews, where we basically take a look at the toy and the actual figurine, and then we cut to gameplay and we discuss the upgrades, abilities, and all the goodies that are much more entertaining and fun, but stick around for that down the line. So now, let's take a look at the actual figurine, and Flameslinger is definitely a decent looking figurine, but to me he is just a little too plain. To me, he doesn't have anything about him that says kind of, hey, look at me, or makes him stand out. That being said, I usually love archers. I've used in many different MMO games archers and all that, so that's why I had kind of a soft spot for Flameslinger. But having taking a look at him, and let's say when you compare him to Pop Fizz or Prison Break or any of these other really cool designs, you could definitely feel that he's kind of gotten skimped on in terms of being unique. He definitely has kind of like a medieval type of attire going on, and he definitely reminds me of a character that we could see in something like Lord of the Rings. Would make perfect sense. I think Flameslinger would fit in wonderfully in that world, just due to the fact of how he's designed. So in that sense, he's definitely, I guess, more realistic and authentic to be fitting within our world, or I guess within a fantasy world such as Lord of the Rings or something. So he's definitely a much more, I guess, believable Skylander than any of the other ones, because those are ridiculously designed. But I think they're ridiculous designs, and something that is way out of nowhere type of design is really what makes Skylanders fun, which is why Flameslinger definitely, to me, suffers in that sense of not being able to really kind of stand out as a unique figurine. That being said, I do like the bow and I do like the firing arrow, because it definitely represents his abilities of being able to shoot flaming arrows and all. So I like when the figurine reflects the actual in-game ability or model. So now that we took a look at Flameslinger, and basically I bashed him for a little while, but again, I do not dislike Flameslinger. I just feel like I have to be fair and critical to the extent where there is something that I dislike about him. But that being said, as I said, I like the archer, so that's why I would have a soft spot for him, but I would definitely agree that he is a very plain looking Skylander. So now that I've blabbered long enough, let's go ahead and zoom out. I'm going to zoom this camera out, and we're going to bring in the portal of power into the shot, and we're going to go ahead and place Flameslinger onto the portal power. And this is where I actually like Flameslinger, kind of what he's got going for him, and that is this awesome base. I like this base because it's translucent and it allows for some light to shine through, and as you can see, even in darkness, the base kind of looks illuminated, and I like that effect. It definitely does a great job of looking like his Flame Dash upgrade. So in that sense, that is definitely a big plus for him, that his base takes advantage of the light that is protruding from the portal of power, and I like that because you're basically kind of getting some light core features before light core even existed, because of course this is a Spyro's Adventure figurine. So that being said, now that we took a look at the toy component of this particular figurine in Flameslinger, let's take a look at the gameplay for Flameslinger. Alrighty guys, so without further ado, let's take a look at some of Flameslinger's statistics, as well as upgrades, and of course, most importantly and most deliciously, the gameplay. But first off, let's kick it off with the stats. So right away, it is noticeable and obvious that he is a very quick Skylander. In fact, he is my favorite Skylander. If I need to complete a level or a chapter or whatever it may be in a quick manner, he's definitely my go-to guy. He's awesome, he's super duper fast, and his ability Flame Dash adds to that furthermore. So basically, other than that, he's relatively average in all the other statistics. He's got a decent amount of health. On top of that, he's got a good amount of armor, for considering that he's a fast Skylander. 27 is pretty darn good. And of course, as you can see right here, his elemental power is 32, but I've got him equipped with this awesome hat, which gives him an additional 25 points. So definitely great there. But without further ado, let's get to the upgrades. So the upgrades, of course, consist of the initial attack, which is Fire Arrow, basically just shooting flaming arrows at your enemies, of course, as the description says there. The other ability that he has is Flame Dash, which I really like to use both offensively and for the use of mobility, and it's a very cool and useful ability, and as you keep going, you upgrade it to further become more and more effective, and it's a really fun ability to play around with. We'll get to that in gameplay. You'll see more of that in more detail. Basically, Searing Arrows further upgrades your basic Fire Arrows, so that's great there. The Column of Fire is one of those fun upgrades for the Flame Dash, which basically allows you to create a circle, and if you complete the circle within your Flame Dash run, it creates a column of fire, which is really cool, and does a ton of damage on enemies that are trapped inside it. And then furthermore, you could upgrade it down the line, which we'll see in just a sec as well. We've got Volley Shot, which basically allows you to volley a couple of arrows up in the air, and then they land on down onto enemies, and it's definitely kind of fun. It definitely makes me think of like Lord of the Rings or something like that, where, you know, there's a lot of archers standing at the top of a castle, and they fire arrows down onto incoming enemies and everything. So it's definitely kind of makes Flameslinger a little more medieval-esque in my mind. Next up, we've got the Hyper Shot, which basically allows you to to shoot your basic fire arrows in a much faster manner. This is super duper useful because the regular arrows are really slow, and it's kind of tedious to the point that if you just start up, you're gonna be like, what the hell? Why is he so slow? But then as you get this Hyper Shot upgrade, you'll definitely notice a huge difference. At least I did. Next up, we've got basically the split up in the pathways, of course. This particular pathway is focused on the arrow kind of attacks. Well, I mean, both of them have, I guess, let me track back, or backtrack, I should say, track back. Basically, this is more focused on the flaming arrow attack, so it further upgrades those particular arrows. So basically, as you can see right here, with the triple shot arrows, allows you to fire 3 arrows at a time, which sounds kind of fun. We've got the explosive arrows, which basically allows your arrows to explode upon contact, and then of course doing extra damage to enemies surrounding the explosion. So that's definitely useful for kind of, you know, clearing areas of a ton of chompies or whatever it may be, just when you're getting swamped with a ton of enemies. And then the Hellfire Arrow upgrades allows you to basically just increase the damage count for your particular attacks, and this actually upgrades your both of your attacks in terms of regular arrows, and then also the ones that are more charged up. I think it was these ones, sorry, there it is, the flaming arrows, the ones that get volleyed. So both of those get upgraded with this Hellfire arrows, so definitely useful in that regard. Now, I went with this pathway, which is why I have a little bit more expertise within it, which is basically, I mean, this is the unique thing about Flameslinger, is that he's kind of break down into, you know how most guys would have, like, let's say their long range, like one pathway would be like a close combat range upgrades, and then the other one would be a much more long range attack, such as, for example, for Pop Fizz, one of the pathways is more focused on the beast mode or the rage mode, and then the other one's focused on the potions. So again, but in the Flameslinger's case, both of them are kind of focused on the arrows, which is kind of unique. But that being said, what really took me to this particular pathway is that I love the Flame Dash attack and upgrade, so that's why I noticed that there's an upgrade here titled Supernova. So I had to go with this one just because I'm a much bigger fan of the Flame Dash attack. But if you prefer the arrow attacks, then you could definitely go ahead and pick this pathway, the top pathway, because it's more effective to you. That being said, Supernova basically allows you to create the circle again, But this time, when the circle explodes, it actually explodes outwards and does external damage as well. So not only does the enemy that you've trapped inside the circle take damage, now the enemies outside take damage as well. Plus, it's an awesome name for an upgrade, Supernova. How much can you love that? Okay, so we've got Inferno Blast, which is basically very similar to just a simple kind of it's kind of like a mix between Flame Dash and the regular fire arrows, where now you can charge up your fire arrow and it creates a pathway behind it as it's flying towards the target. So it's somewhat effective. I don't really use it often, so it's there, but I don't really use it that often, to be honest. Next up, we've got the napalm tipped arrows, which basically allows oh, sorry, this leaves the pathway behind it. This was the other one. I'm sorry. Yeah, this creates the blast. So as the arrow attacks, it creates another blast. So again, kind of the same, a similar type thing. And then this, the napalm tipped arrows, allows you to create a pathway behind it. I'm sorry guys, I confused those two, my bad. But finally, of course, we've got the super volley shot, which basically allows you to, when you're doing your flaming arrow, which are the ones that are raining down, now instead of just 3, you rain much more of them. So that's very cool. Alrighty, so now that we took a look at all those upgrades and we've blabbered on long enough, let's go ahead and come up here, flame dash our way up here, talk with Brock, and go into some gameplay, because that's really where we're going to be able to showcase some cool stuff. Why don't we go ahead and I don't know, let's I think this should be pretty fun. Let's do that. Whatever, we're just showcasing gameplay at this point. So now that we took a look at the upgrades verbally, let's take a look at them in actual physical manner. So of course, first up, I'm gonna wait for some enemies to appear. So here comes some chompies, and I'm just gonna fire my basic arrow at them. Now my arrows are already powered up, of course, so your basic arrow is not gonna look like this when you're level 1. It's gonna be obviously a little weaker and such, and it's not gonna have such a strong impact upon contact. As you can see, when I make contact, my arrows blow up, and that's that upgrade that we were talking about, to where now the arrows don't just do the damage that they do upon contact, but they actually do additional damage upon contact to where they explode. So definitely cool in that manner, in that regard. So now that we took a look at that arrows, at the basic fire arrows, I guess, and some of those other upgrades, let's wait up for these guys, and I'm gonna do the charge up arrow. So as you can see, when I charge it up, right, like so, I create a pathway behind the arrow, which is very cool. So it allows me to basically, for example, if you want to kind of separate the field in half, you know, you want to attack enemies on one side, you can use this as a tool. So for example, right here, if I want to separate that, boom, you see, and now enemies coming from that side would have taken damage as well. So that's definitely useful, and you could definitely apply it in different manners to do a lot more damage than usual. So let's take a look at the flaming arrows, shall we? So here comes the flaming arrows, as you can see. Now the one thing that I have to point out with the flaming arrows that I find a little annoying is the fact that they're a little hard to aim. Like, you don't have a real sense of how far they're gonna fly. It's kind of like almost like a guesstimate type thing. So you see, like, for example, I was hoping that I would hit him, but I wasn't 100% confident that I would. And sometimes that will happen, where you will try to aim for someone with the flaming arrows and they'll end up, like, not touching them or something. So in that sense, they are a little frustrating, but come on, I mean, it's flaming arrows, it's freaking awesome. And when they do hit, you see how much damage they do a ton of damage. And you can really cause a bunch of trouble for your enemies with this particular attack. So now that we took a look at all these varieties of arrow attacks, now that we've done our flame slinging arrows, almost like green arrow, let's take a look at the actual flame dash. So as you can see, when I do the okay, so first off, I guess I'll just show you the basic flame dash. So you see, when it's a basic one, it's just gonna leave like a fire path behind you, and enemies, as they walk into it, will obviously take damage from it, such as this. You see, as he's walking into it, well, I just ran off the cliff, that's very smart, but he obviously takes damage from it. So watch, these chompies are gonna walk into it, and they're all gonna take some damage from it. So definitely effective in that sense. But of course, we also saw that upgrade of where I could make a circle around the enemy. So I could run an entire circle around this guy right here. And once I do, as you can see, there's a giant field of explosion. And this is really, I have to be honest, this is really the upgrade that I love about Flameslinger, is the ability to do flame dash.
because not only do I become super duper quick, but I can have fun like just running. I do these like shapes of 8s where I'll just run like tiny little circles like this, you see, and I'll be able to do a ton of damage using just that particular upgrade. And to me, that's really the fun part about Flameslinger, is his Flame Dash ability, which is why I had to go with the lower path, and why I would recommend the lower path, because I feel like with Flame Dash, Flameslinger goes from just an alright Skylander to a really, really fun Skylander to play as. And on top of that, he's super duper effective, because you can literally just run away from the enemies, but because they're chasing you the whole time, you're leaving a fire path behind you and they're taking damage. So there's a lot of techniques that you can apply, and it's really, really effective and fun to play as him. But all that being said, I still have to give him a fair rating, and I'm going to go ahead and give Flameslinger, please don't hurt me guys, a 7.5. Now I know some people are big fans of Flameslinger, so I'm sorry to offend you, but you have to look at it realistically. Honestly, his fire arrow attacks and flaming arrow attacks are a little disappointing, and if there was no Flame Dash, honestly, I think that Flameslinger would not even be one of my favorites. I don't think that he's an amazing looking figure. I don't think that he's a particularly too fun character to play in the game, and if it wasn't for the Flame Dash, which I absolutely adore, I think that he would definitely be on the lower tier Skylanders in my particular list. But that being said, guys, I'd always love to hear what you guys think in the comment section below, so make sure to leave your opinions, thoughts, suggestions, and such in the comment section below. And of course, don't forget to leave suggestions for next Skylander reviews that you would like to see for particular characters, and discussions if you have anything else to voice your opinion on for Flameslinger, not Flameslinger. That would get me into a lot of trouble. But putting that in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Of course, if you could please hit that like button, subscribe, share the videos, and favorite the videos, that would be greatly appreciated as well. I'm sorry if my commentary is a little rusty. With the holidays, I took a couple of days off, so it's one of those things, if you don't do it for a little while, you kind of lose your marbles, and you lose your path, you know. So I really need to regain my momentum, but a ton of videos coming your way. Like I promised, January is going to be swamped with a ton of content, so be ready to check out a ton of videos, and I hope you guys will enjoy it all. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.